Okay, there we go. Now I need to invite viewer. Okay, I don't know what that means, but we're going to there we go. I've invited cutefatqueer, and we're here today to talk about FatCon. FatCon was a 3-day long event. 5 fat people, 4 fat people. Thank you. Don't know. Should have done a little bit more setup before. There we go. Lighting's a little bit better there. Yeah, so FatCon was a 3-day long event. It was a conference put on by fat people, for fat people. Got my FatCon shirt on. And yeah, I've invited cutefatqueer to come and talk about it. We're just waiting. Welcome. I'm really excited to be talking about this. So I attended all 3 days of FatCon. cutefatqueer was unable to attend, so we're just going to sort of talk about what it was like, talk about the different aspects of it, the good, the bad. Hi, Patricia. Thanks for joining. I don't know why my light looks so red, but let me change. Okay, that's better. There we go. Okay, cutefatqueer, are you here yet? There we are.
Whoa, I just need to get my camera working.
Okay.
Hello, camera. Save.
Hi, Oscar.
There we
Julian.
go.
Welcome. Hi.
So, sorry for the confusion, everyone. I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know if we were going to go with you or me. No, we didn't know. And so I was like on my live, and so people are joining right now. I told people to come over here. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, people will join. Corey's here. Corey and you live close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Corey's here. I think Patricia is gonna head on by, or Patricia's here. Yep,
Patricia's here.
So cool. Yeah, I think that they were the only ones that were in my live that I was like, let's go over there. There were other people like trolling, I think, but that was about it. So let's hear about FatCon.
Yeah, so FatCon was a 3-day long event put on by fat people, for fat people. It was my first FatCon. I think they did it last year, so I think this was technically the second one. There was Oh my God. There were so many thoughts and feelings to process
Mm.
afterwards. Um, I have like a little digital voice recorder, and like as I was driving back to Portland from Seattle, I was just like grabbing it and like talking into it because like there was so much to talk about, to unpack, because I came from North Carolina, which, as we've talked about before, there was no real fat community there. There's like starting to be some great stuff. Are you still here? Oh, I think we may have some technical difficulties.
There we go. Sorry. I figured it out.
So yeah, I came from an area that didn't have any fat community. So I think I was a little emotionally unprepared for what it was going to be like to be in not just one room full of fat people, but like this whole conference full of
Right.
fat people. One of the things towards the end, I was talking to Tony PW, PNW, Tony PNW, who is an artist and a tattoo artist, had a booth there, and we were talking about the lack of fear. Because this is the first time in my life that I was not afraid to just be me and interact in the world, to just exist as myself. And it's one of those things where you don't know how much you're in a constant state of fear and anxiety until there is a lack of it.
Yes! I agree with that 100%. Like, your body does something different, right?
Yeah. It was... I was definitely not the only person there who cried at some point.
Mm-hmm.
The artists were spectacular. Everything was just amazing. I think the only thing that was difficult for me was that it was so much.
Right.
Like, as a disabled person, as a spoonie, like,
Yep.
there was
stimulation. Yeah.
Although I will say they had a quiet room.
No, good.
That had fidgets, coloring books. It was really nice. I spent a good chunk of the second day in the quiet room.
Aww.
And even that, like, was its own kind of healing, sitting in the quiet room with other fat people who were, you know, coloring or doing their own thing. There's a certain feeling to socializing and doing and all of that thing with people within your community. And there's a separate type of feeling to just sit there and exist with people in your community.
Right.
And I'm really glad that I got to experience both of those things. In the closing ceremonies, the organizers, all the people behind the conference, sort of talked a little bit about it. And one of the things they talked about was the goal of bringing things like this to every state.
Yeah.
because they did a FatCon Philly
Right.
last year, I think, and one of the things they talked about in A Tale of Two Cons, which was one of the talks, was like how each city is so individual that you have to have a lot of like local expertise and experience and local people who want to be involved.
Right.
Because each community is so different. But like I'm like 100% on board with the fact that this needs to be available everywhere.
I agree with that.
It was so powerful. It was so powerful. I feel like by the end of it, there was a shift in how I felt about myself, about how I felt about fat liberation, about how I connected with fellow fat people. It's like I have spent 13 years as a fat activist. I have done all of the things, read all of the things. I have advocated for fat liberation. I have fought with trolls. I have done all of these things. Like, all of these things are like little puzzle pieces to fat liberation.
Yeah.
And it was this powerful feeling of everything, all of those little puzzle pieces clicking into place to create the whole picture that I didn't even know I didn't see. Like, look, my hands are trembling.
Yeah.
It was such a powerful experience. Not having community is so detrimental to our mental health, which, as you and I know, means it's also detrimental to our physical health.
Right.
And I'm gonna see, like, I'm like,
no, it's okay. It's all right. I mean, I think that's normal. To have feeling and like strong feeling about something that like that we've struggled so hard for our lives to like just exist, and then to be in a space where people are celebrating and loving and community, right? Like, there's something that, like, I really believe that, like what you said, like something transpired for you, something shifted for you. The more that we are around community and people that like actually get it and are celebrating us, the more that transformation can happen, I think.
yes. I think, like, I had so many amazing conversations with different people. But one of the things that I talked about, we talked a lot about sort of the difference between fat acceptance back in the day and fat liberation.
Yeah.
As well as sort of the difference between fat acceptance as far as like body image and self-esteem and accepting your own body. What was amazing about this is the combination of both of those things. Like, you know, you and I were at the ASDA conference in 2018, and that was definitely more like the liberation part.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, hold on.
I know, I see it too.
Blockety block. Um, yeah, so the ASDA conference was the fat liberation part of it, which the human rights part of it, like that is kind of a big thing.
Right?
What I loved about FatCon was it was all of that, but also this celebration of the fat form, celebration of the fat body. There was a fat figure drawing class. It was an hour long class where they sort of like gave you these we practiced like how to draw fat bodies, and one of the things that the artist that was hosting said was, remember that in fat bodies there are pretty much no angles. Like, remember that we are all curves.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until like into the second day that I realized that I had not even once thought negatively about my body or felt self-conscious about my body. And that goes into part of that, like being free from fear and not even realizing until there's the lack of it. Because, like, my whole time as a fat activist, like, literally, I read a fat activism book that a friend gave me, and within a couple of months, made the decision to start modeling. And within, like, 3 months, had done, like, a nude shoot.
Wow, good for you.
And then posted them on the internet.
Good for you! I love that.
And so, like, for me, a lot of it has always been about showing my fat body and despite fear.
Yeah.
Like being
like
terrified of going out, being very self-conscious of going out, but doing it anyway because it's important. And that's great, and that is important. But this was the first time I didn't have to do it despite fear, because there was no fear. I just plain got to be me. It is such an indescribable feeling.
It's liberating.
Hi, Lenora. My cat's out here. Nora.
Oh, I wanted to show you my shirt real quick.
Oh, Nora.
My Fatties Against Fascism.
I love it.
Isn't that cool? The colors are just really great.
Yes. Hi, Cecile. The conversation is about a conference that happened the past 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was a fat conference for fat liberation, for fat people to join in community with each other, for fat art. It was amazing. Nor is my nickname. That caught me off guard. Oh, because your name is Nora. Yeah, my cat's name is Lenora.
And we have matching cats, by the way. We didn't know that.
Yeah. It's
Literally, our cats look like they could be siblings.
Yeah. One thing I wanted...
But that liberating feeling that you were talking about is real. And I will tell you, the first time that I ever felt that feeling was probably at Big Splash in Portland. A couple of years ago when I went for the first time to be around all other fat bodies and not have that like that feeling that like everyone's either looking at you or trying really hard not to look at you, but they're looking at you,
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't get any of that feeling, and everyone's complimenting each other on like their clothes and their outfits, and like, oh, where'd you get this? Where'd you get that? Like, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of like being at a fat conference is those are similar things I think that happen, and the love that everyone is sharing towards each other, and there is no like pathologizing of your body and saying your body's wrong. Everyone's saying, no, your body's right. You're showing up for yourself. You're here. Like, thank you for being who you are. Without that whole societal, it's societal hate that's how I see it. It is hate towards something that you don't even really fully understand. And that's what I like about fat liberation is it helps me and others understand the complexities of living in a fat body.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy for you that you were able to experience that. I mean, how many people were there? There had to have been like
I think they said 320 people were there. At some point, like, you know, I think there were some people who didn't attend all 3 days, which is understandable because it was a lot and it was exhausting. But yeah, it was 320 people. Yeah, I got to hear a lot from Puxaplenty, who was like the main idea person, the main organizer behind everything. Including Fat Lesk, which was sort of the sister event going on at the time. So she was not only organizing Fat Lesk, but also organizing FatCon.
Oh my God.
And we found out, like, during one of her talks, this past year in 2023, as she was organizing both of those things, also was diagnosed with Bell's palsy.
Oh, wow.
And lost the ability to control half of her face, which, because she's a burlesque performer, that's really important because that's how she makes her money. That's her living.
Right.
She's regained facial movement now, but yeah, everybody who was planning it, everybody who was helping organize it, went through like some serious shit in 2023.
Wow.
And still managed to plan and pull off this amazing event. And they had 2 sponsors pull out at the last minute, making them short $28,000.
Oh my God.
But this is how dedicated they were. Puxaplenty said, I want everyone to know there was never a risk of FatCon being canceled. At the very worst, she was planning to take out a personal loan to cover that $28,000. The community did come through with fundraising, so she didn't have to do that. But that's how dedicated this team was, which is so powerful to me. Like, with everything that FatCon was and all of those feelings that I got to experience, and then to know that the team behind it was so dedicated that they would make these huge personal sacrifices just so that other people could be in community.
Wow. I mean, that's the dedication, I think, of of leaders that are in our community, we don't realize how much people put of their own selves, their own livelihood, their own money into these things to make it happen for the rest of us. And the blood, sweat, and tears that goes along with creating something like this, I think, is just fantastic. What was one of the, maybe what was one of your favorite workshops? I mean, we talked about, going into the drawing space and stuff like that, but were there any workshops that really caught your eye?
The drawing one was definitely my favorite. Like, I came prepared. Like, I had all my art supplies. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I've done live modeling before. It's very hard. So I love the models that we had. But the other one that was really amazing was the Feeling Our Fat workshop. And I wish I had like the list in front of me right now to tell you like who did everything and all of that stuff. It is on the website still, but the person that led that workshop is in Portland, and they are doing the same workshop as a 6-week course.
Wow.
Which I am planning to do, but it was a lot of mindfulness. Fat people are often very disconnected from our bodies.
Yeah, we live in this space, but we don't live in this space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Feeling Our Fat was just that. It was reconnecting with your body, specifically the fatness of your body, right? Like, I have always been very strong. I did a lot of strength training before I became disabled. Like, my biggest goal in recovering, I can't recover from my illnesses, but my biggest goal, like, working with my illnesses, is to regain strength. So, like, there are parts of my body I can absolutely connect with. I can connect with the strength of my body. But focusing very specifically on reconnecting with your fat.
That's different.
It really is. And it sounds like for anybody who is watching either now or watches this later, it sounds like it would be something that could be scary or like very self-conscious or something like that. But when you're in that community space, like I said, there was no fear. There was no self-consciousness. There was none of that. And I'm going to get emotional again. We as activists, we know the shit that society puts on us. But it is that moment when all of that is gone, when you realize how smothering it is. And so to be able to sit there and reconnect with your fat in a space where there's no fear, there's no self-consciousness, there is no judgment. And then what was also amazing was part of the workshop was to afterwards sit in a circle and unpack everything, talk about everything. So everybody sat in a circle and they cried just like this. And so the mindfulness and feeling and reconnecting with our fat was one part of the healing. And then being able to sit with those fat people that we just connected together with and talk about it and unpack it was a whole new kind of healing. what was amazing about the conference is just that every single piece of it was healing in a new and different way. Ugh.
I'm curious, what did they say? Like, what do you remember them saying as far as trying to get in touch with your fat? Like, what were some of the things that were being presented to, like, actually get you to get in touch with that?
So it was actually more movement.
Okay, cool.
You know, fat has its own way of moving.
Yeah,
and
right.
Every fat body is different, so every fat body has its own way of moving. Sort of, so like I recently had to start using estrogen patches. I've got an autoimmune disease. My ovaries don't make estrogen. And the patches like have so much trouble staying on my skin. I have a lot of trouble figuring out where to put them. And
Yeah.
I was talking to my wife. I said, you know, part of it is that fat bodies move. Fat moves. So no matter what you're doing, because I toss and turn and it when I'm sleeping a lot, like there's so much movement. You know, I think it was oh my god, my brain. Oh shoot, who? I'm trying to give me just a minute. All of that whole like flood of emotion just like I swear to God. Clara, who was my photo shoot with? You know how like sometimes like there's like a person that's like you have never forgotten their name ever, and then suddenly it's like, what is that person's name? As if like I don't know.
Is it a fat photographer?
Yeah.
Not Substantia, not Shug.
Shug. Yep, Shug. I was sitting there going, the last name is McDaniels. Yeah, I got to have a photo shoot with Shug.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be putting up the photos. They're fantastic. I
just bought their new book.
Yes. Oh my God, their book is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful. And they just put out a deck of cards.
Yes, I saw that too. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Their art is amazing. If you're listening right now and you don't know who Shug McDaniels is, definitely look them up online. It's S as in Sam, H-O-O-G. And that is somebody I really highly recommend you follow.
Absolutely. And as a fat photographer myself, like, their work is so inspiring. It's beautiful.
Do you follow them on TikTok?
What?
Do you follow them on TikTok?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of their like videos are just beautiful too. Like just to like remind you of your humanity and stuff. It's just highly recommend.
Yeah. But a while back I can't remember if it was a specific set of photos, like a project, but it was Bodies Like Oceans.
Aww.
And so, yeah, as we're sitting here talking about how bodies move, it made me think about that because, you know, our bodies move like the waves in the ocean. And so a big part of that workshop was just really focusing on how your body, your fat, moves. There was like dancing and moving and touching I remember at the ASDA conference, Max Power did a talk about somatic therapy. And this is the first time I had ever heard about somatic therapy. And they had us close our eyes and put our hands on our stomachs. Hold on, I'm gonna put this back a little bit.
Oh, look at you. Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
and just like feel.
Because so many of us have this negative attachment to our bellies, right?
Yes. And
like,
we don't touch them. We don't. We are like so afraid of our own bodies.
Yep.
We don't. So like when Max had us close our eyes and just touch our fat and just feel it, and just in like a neutral way, just focus on how it moves under your fingers. Like that was so amazing and so powerful. And this workshop, Feeling Our Fat, was like a whole workshop of just that.
Yeah, it sounds similar to this yoga workshop that I did with Anna Chapman. I don't know if you know who she is. But yeah, I did a yoga workshop with her, and she did something kind of similar. So like we did like this whole movement, we played music, did this whole movement thing, like you know, move your body in a way where you can feel your bones, right? Like really pay attention to your bones, right? And then they go deeper. Can you feel your muscles? Can you feel your blood moving in your body? No one ever asks you if you can feel that, right? But if you do this mindfulness practice and you like go in deep, like can you imagine like being able to feel your blood, right? Like, and I can start to feel it right now just saying that, right?
Yeah, like as you're saying that, it's making me mindful.
Yes, right? So we did all that, and then we did the whole like fat thing. So now let's move our bodies in ways that feel like our fat wants to move. Listen to how your fat wants to move right now. And then doing all the like touching, right? And like the places that like you don't really like to touch, right? Like these are your problem areas, right? Yep. Right?
Yeah, it's
right?
Again,
so,
like all these things that you don't even think about.
You don't, because we are conditioned not to. That's the thing. We are being pulled away from what is really human in these bodies that we carry, these meat suits that we carry, right? We are being pulled away from what is really in touch with humanity. We are so disconnected. We are so distracted by capitalism and by white supremacy and by chasing the fucking dollar, right? That we don't have time to actually look at this and say, like, this is one thing that I've been doing lately, and I've been doing this on my fat lip journey, but like, you know, regarding like, let's go back to the tummy, right? This whole idea of like, okay, there was a time where I wanted to not have that around.
Yes.
I literally wanted to, right? I won't say, because of TikTok, I'm not going to say exactly the words, but we know, right? Wanted to, and I switched that. I switched that to, this belly has been around with me through every single pleasure and joy and trauma in my life. It has saved me. It has comforted me. It has nourished me. Why would I want to get rid of that? That has been a transformation for me in learning how to love the thing that I carry around, that I really wanted to. Yeah. Right? And these workshops that we're talking about, y'all, are designed to help us do that.
Yeah. I think we need to take a moment to just breathe.
Yeah. Yeah, the scissor thing is real, Catnip. The scissor thing is real. There's a song on TikTok that came out about that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you all know about Maddie Zim. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. Maybe it's Zam. Anyway, she wrote a song about that. And she's not in a like bigger fat body. She's in a small fat body. But this affects everyone. This doesn't just affect fat people.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like how, you know, we say that, like, sexism affects men, too. Sexism affects men negatively, right? Like, every form of oppression affects everybody. Fat phobia, anti-fatness, fat hatred affects thin people, too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so wild because, like, that should make it obvious that thinner people should join us and fight with us, so that they can be liberated from these negative effects and consequences and ways of thinking as well. But that's how insidious bigotry is. That's how insidious anti-fatness and marginalization is that even though it hurts you, your desire to hurt others is greater.
Yeah, Catnip, I think that there's some really great content out there, actually. Really, really, really great people. Like, you know, check out who I follow. Check out who Left Side's, you know, following and stuff like that. Like, I try to fill my feed with as many people who live in bigger bodies and who are speaking about anti-fat bias and diet culture as much as I can. Because here's the thing. I consider myself a fat liberationist. I consider myself someone who, I teach about this, okay? I teach about this. And it's an and I also live in the world that you live in. Right? I don't live in a vacuum. I live out there with the rest of all y'all, like we do, right? And it's everywhere. As soon as you turn on a radio, as soon as you open a magazine, as soon as you turn on TikTok, I can't get rid of it. On TikTok, on my feed right now, I have Weight Watchers on my feed, and I can't get rid of it.
Oh my God, I want to talk a second about like the appropriation of somatic healing. So I have been looking at somatic healing because, as you know, I have an enormous amount of trauma, and I have autoimmune illnesses, I have chronic pain, I have a lot of things in my body. And I guess, you know, the internet, as it internets, knew that I had been searching for these things. And so I started getting these ads that look like they're just videos on TikTok talking about somatic healing. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll watch this. Yeah, this is something I'm interested in. And then it hits you with, and once you release this trauma, you'll drop the weight.
That's how it works.
Because, like, we in the fat community have been talking for forever about how trauma can cause weight gain. And so they've, like, latched onto this and decided, well, then that means the lack of trauma must cause weight loss, which is not how it works, because our bodies evolutionarily prefer to gain weight.
Yes.
But work as hard as possible to not lose weight, because losing weight evolutionarily is famine, it's disease, it's bad.
Yep.
So yeah, trauma can cause weight gain. That does not mean the lack of trauma or working through your trauma causes weight loss. And the fact that I'm sitting here trying to process decades worth of severe trauma, and they're appropriating that to try to cause more trauma.
Yeah, it's so gross. It's so gross. Like, anything to blame the fat person, right, for being fat. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like gaslighting at that point. Like, you're only fat because you have all this trauma. Fuck you. Like, no, there are multiple reasons why somebody might be fat, but the primary number one is genetics. Then we add in possible cortisol and trauma and things like that, but it's genetics, number one. Right? And environment. But, like, come on, y'all. Like, this is science. This is science. This is science, right? And the science that we know, like you and I know, gets buried because it doesn't make money.
Yes. Yes.
This is what we're doing. $80 billion a year, y'all, on diets and weight loss. We're spending, yet literally the science says that 99% of people who try intentional weight loss will gain it back plus.
Yeah. Because
your body does not, like we're hearing, right? Your body doesn't know the difference between a diet and a famine.
Yeah.
Your body's going to do the exact same thing, right? It's going to lose weight initially, then you're going to plateau. Why do we plateau? Right? In the diet culture world, you'd hear, well, you're not trying hard enough, or, exercise more, or whatever, right? But what I know is the reason why we plateau is because your body's actually trying to take care of you. Your body's saying, hold up, we're losing too much weight here, reverse course, and everything that's going to come into your mouth is going to stay, because that's how your body works. Your body thinks you're in a famine.
Yeah. And when your body is doing that, when everything that you eat is going towards adipose to store for later so that you can survive, but you still have to function in society, where is that energy coming from? Your body starts taking it from your muscles, from your organs, from everywhere except the adipose, because that, people think that, like, if you are in an energy deficit, your body will take from your fat stores first. Your body takes from your fat stores last. Those are emergency rations.
Yep.
So if your body is, in fact, taking from your fat stores, you are in a state of emergency.
Yep. Like, you're in starvation, basically.
Yeah. And again, me and you know the science of things like increased risk for heart attack and stroke, because you've done this starvation, and it damages your heart, it damages your blood vessels, it damages your body. So of course you're going to be at greater risk for, all of these issues in your old age.
Right.
And
the thing is that nobody knows the long-term effects of, like, for instance, weight loss surgery.
No.
Nobody knows the long-term effects of that. And, like, the osteoporosis, the brain damage, I'm sure that's happening because just regular dieting causes that. Like, I can only imagine what people are deciding to live with because they think that that's better than being in a bigger body. It's a hard reality, and especially now in January, we're seeing lots of it in January. After the holidays, everybody like even
Always.
people that I thought were fat positive,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're doing their thing, and I'm like, okay, guess I have to unfollow you now.
Yeah, it's
You know,
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to lose people from your community to hatred.
but
Especially
I
losing
understand
people from
it,
your community to the hatred that they've internalized.
right? And that's why I say I understand it, because I, again, like I say, I live out there with the rest of you. I've lived in a bigger body my entire life. Ever since I was a baby, I've been in a bigger body, right? And I at one time was in diet culture, and I was at one time in on the mindset of, I guess this is the holy grail to get me to not be in this body anymore, right? And then I started doing more research, and I was like, I don't want to end up not being able to eat my favorite foods or be on pills for the rest of my life because I have malnutrition, or lose my teeth, or lose my hair, or lose my strength, because I'm actually a really strong person too, right? So I just couldn't reconcile all of that just to be in a smaller body. And it's not easy choosing the path of living in a bigger body, because, right, we know, because of all the oppression that we face, because just going on an airplane is a struggle in itself in a bigger body, right? That's just one example. Aw, that's really sweet of you. Thank you. This is stuff that's kind of like hard to do, these kind of lives, for me personally. The reason why is because we get a lot of trolls in here, and they start saying things and things like that. But I want to do them more regularly. I want to do them more often because of people like you, Catnip. For people that need to hear these things, because it's not readily available still. It's not readily available. People don't, like, my sister just got weight loss surgery yesterday.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so I had my own feels about that, right? But so I, like, originally I was like really, really mad and having all these feels, and like, I knew she was considering it like 2 years ago. And so I, did all the things with, like, cause she's my sister, right? Trying to educate her, and she called me a liar. But the thing is that I understand why. Because she was not fully informed about that surgery. Because it wouldn't make the surgeons money if she actually knew all of the things.
Oh yeah, they never, for that surgery specifically, the lies that they tell patients and the consequences that they leave out it's criminal. Literally criminal.
Yep. It is. They're lying. It's eugenics. It's the erasure of fat bodies. When fat bodies literally have always existed in human history, y'all.
Yeah.
This isn't like an obesity crisis. We have literally lived in bigger bodies since humanity started.
And let me say to people that, like, the fact that we've had bigger bodies since literally the beginning of human bodies is why you're here today. Humanity only survived because of our ability to store fat. There's no human being on this planet that would exist today if it weren't for fat people.
It's an evolutionary trait, y'all. Yes, look at the Hawaiians, the larger stature. People in their culture, big is beautiful. Did you know, this is something that I learned, did you know that in a food-abundant culture, thinness is revered? But did you know that in a food-scarce culture, fatness is revered.
I'm so sorry, Susie Q. Sorry about your cousin.
Oh, I'm so sorry, darling. Yeah, people don't listen because they believe they're being told the truth by their doctors, by society. Yeah, I'm sure you felt responsible, but you know what? This is the thing that I try to tell people is every individual person has autonomy, right? Like my sister, I was angry and pissed and did all those feelings, right? And then I came around yesterday and I said to myself, I actually have compassion for her because I know what it feels like to be bombarded your entire life.
Yeah.
So no wonder she chose that route. Like literally no wonder.
Yeah.
Right? No wonder.
Yeah. I mean, I've had people telling me that I should be doing that since I was like 20 years old or something like that. I had, right before I got pregnant with my kid, I was 19 years old. I had a boss look me up and down and ask me if I was going to get weight loss surgery.
So inappropriate and out of their lane, first of all. Second of all, who gives you the right to be commenting on your employee's body?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And at that time, the cutoffs for it were different. Like now they've like moved it so that children are eligible, and that
20 pounds over.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. But at the time, I was like, oh, I'm not even eligible for it. And he just gave me this look, and he goes, "Are you sure?"
Yeah. So, Susie, this is something that I talk about with medications. I think that medications, if your doctor is prescribing medications for something like diabetes, Ozempic is one of those things for diabetes, right? Then like really talk to your doctor about these medications, right? But if they're prescribing it for weight loss, yeah.
I have an easy yeah, okay, and now we're going to block them. That's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you're not a diabetic and they're prescribing that to you, your doctor is fat phobic.
Yeah.
They have anti-fat bias, and I would recommend trying to find someone else.
Yeah. And people have been using Ozempic inappropriately for weight loss for long enough now that we know how severe the side effects and the consequences can be. And the fact that doctors are still trying to push it is like, it's always been gross, right? Like prescribing anything for weight loss is gross. But to know how harmful something is, and to then go, well, yeah, but being fat is worse, so here.
Gross. That, yeah, it's causing horrible stomach issues. You're absolutely right. It causes, there's a study out that I just found not too long ago stating that Ozempic is causing gastroparesis in individuals who didn't have gastroparesis before, and even with stopping the medication, you still end up with gastroparesis.
Yeah, it's
there are
a possibly permanent consequence.
Yeah, that's just one study.
Yeah,
I'm sure there are going to be more studies coming out because it is still relatively a new medication. But that was something that I saw recently that really alarmed me.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of back in the 90s when we had fen-phen come out on the market, and they were pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and they lowered the BMI so that more people could get on fen-phen, and then it caused all these heart valve issues.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather us take a medication that could potentially harm us, right, than live in a body that is just healthy and normal.
Again, and then if you have a heart attack, they go, oh, it's because you're fat. Or maybe it's because you went through the 90s and you took fen-phen for...
Right.
Like, they do all these things that specifically hurt our bodies, and then when our bodies break down, they're like, oh, well, that's not our fault, that's on you.
Yeah, because nobody in the medical industry has ever heard of anything called social determinants of health. It feels like.
Yeah.
Were you ever schooled on social determinants of health? You work in the friggin' medical field.
Yeah, like it's very basic 101. Like, I know they're learning this in medical school.
Mm-hmm. If you don't know what that is, it's basically the correlation between, like, I'll give you an example of racism. So somebody who's black may have a higher chance of heart disease, right? Well, why is that? There might be a genetic component, right? But also think about the systemic racism that person and the family and their ancestors had to deal with for their lives, and like they were constantly on the run and constantly worried that they're going to be killed. I think that would cause me to have heart issues too.
Mm-hmm. Just learn that low carb or keto diet is terrible for your heart and can cause early death. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, carbs are literally what your body runs on. Like, sugar, everything breaks down in the body and ends up as, glucose. Your brain uses it. The building of your cells, like literally everything, your body needs it. So if you don't get it, like, sort of similarly, I had last year I was diagnosed with scurvy because I have long COVID and I can't absorb nutrients.
Yeah.
And they don't regularly test for vitamin C, so nobody was figuring it out.
Oh my God.
When they diagnosed it, I thought, oh, well, that just sort of boosts your immune system, right? No, vitamin C is used literally to build your cells. It's used in healing your body. It's why when you have scurvy, you have scars that will, like, open up.
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
And it's the same thing with carbs, though. Like, you cannot eliminate an entire nutrient that we have had for the entirety of our evolutionary history. You can't just take out a nutrient that we've had for millions of years.
Right.
Without some sort of horrible side effect. I love carbs. My body needs it. Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Who doesn't love a muffin?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and I think that this, like, I don't know, it's just that our culture breeds something called orthorexia.
Yeah.
Orthorexia, if folks don't know, is this, like, hyper, like, almost OCD obsession with things that are healthy, right? So everything is, like, quote unquote clean eating, which I don't agree with, and all this stuff. The reason why I don't agree with clean eating is because the people that pick your food, right, like, they're oppressed. They are, not paid for what they're worth. They're usually immigrant workers. There's racism, all those things. So when we say clean eating, I don't really believe in that because of where our food comes from.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, Melanie. Sorry to hear about your best friend. It's, yeah, with orthorexia, like, you get so obsessed with healthiness that you're afraid to eat anything.
Yeah.
And then you usually pair that with like over exercising and things like that. I remember when they first started talking about orthorexia as a thing, and people are like, "Oh, that's not a real thing. They're just making that up."
No, I actually worked in this field. I used to work in mental health. I used to be a therapist. I actually was working at a residential facility for teen girls. And like every single one of them had orthorexic properties going on. Every single one of them.
It really is heartbreaking.
Yeah, and this is what we're doing to our culture. This is what we're doing to kids. You know, you have kids who are like preschool age, y'all, who are basically like saying negative things about fat bodies, and they're learning it. Like, we learn it very young ages. Like, there are moms that are pregnant, right? People that are pregnant, and they're afraid of gaining weight, so they go on like these, like, they call it like, I'm just going on a fast or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you kidding me?
And the doctors play into it too. The doctors like, oh, don't gain more than X amount.
Yes, I heard that. Did you?
Oh yeah. I was sick my entire pregnancy, so I basically only gained the amount of weight of the baby and the placenta, and that was and that was it. And the doctors thought that was just great. But then when my baby was born and was only 6 pounds, they wanted to blame it on like me being a vegetarian.
My goodness. But yeah, I'm hoping to do more lives like this. Like, we every once in a while we poke around and do that. But I wanted to let people that are listening know that I also run a Fat Lib Zoom meeting every Friday. It's with people all over the country, in fact, all over the world. And it's every Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific. You can DM me if you'd like details.
And it's amazing. There are so many different kinds of conversations that end up going on. And yeah, definitely get in on that.
And I've been doing that for about 2 years now. So, and it's been good. And I've actually had some really awesome people step up for me when I've been sick, because I'm struggling with long COVID too, among other things. So, but we have a really great community there, and people do show up for each other and really take care of each other. So I highly recommend checking us out if you'd like to.
Other accounts to follow, you can follow FatCon there on Instagram, so that if you are in the Pacific Northwest, or if you want to travel for it, it's going to happen next year too. So, and as well as Fatlesk,
right,
which they're just great to follow anyway because of the content they post, because of, Catnip says they're in Oregon. So yeah, FatCon was in Seattle this year. I don't know if it'll be different next year, but
yeah, we get a lot of Oregon people because I'm in Oregon. We're we're in Oregon, so we get a lot of Oregon people on the chat. But like, I have people in Massachusetts, I have people in Kentucky, Colorado. I got them all over. And then what's the coolest thing is that I get people that come in from like Australia, Tasmania, the UK. So it's just a really great community, and I'm just really proud of the people that are there. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful, it's my baby, basically. It's my baby. It's a beautiful space, and the people that come, I'm just like, so, I can't, there aren't words, like the English language is limited. There aren't words to describe it, but I will say that there are powerful people there. There are incredibly compassionate and loving people there. And there are people there that do the work, that have done the work and understand what this is all about. When we talk about fat lit, we talk about anti-diet culture. There are people that are on the beginnings of their journey that come there.
Yeah.
Right? And I encourage that, because this is what I always say to the people on my group. I say, look, think of it as like a road, right? We're all on this road. There's some people that are going to be on the road here. There are going to be some people that are on the road here. There are going to be some people in the breakdown lane, right?
Yeah.
Right? And what do the people in the breakdown lane need? Well, they might need, like, some community support, somebody to pull over and say, hey, how can I help you? And that's what I do in my group.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the way that you get from here on the road to here on the road, you've got to have that support to get back and keep going. We were all, every single one of us was in the breakdown lane at some point. Every single one of us was in diet culture.
Yesterday. I was in the breakdown lane yesterday because my sister got weight loss surgery, so I'm like, wow.
Yeah, like, we all need that support. Even those of us who've been doing this for a really long time.
Yeah, so keep on coming back. Follow us. I'm going to try to make more content. I pulled my content and I made my content private for a while. I just reopened it. The reason why I made it private for a while is because I was being harassed and doxxed by people who were meaning very hard, really they were meaning harm towards me.
Yeah.
So they doxed me at work. Yeah, it was bad. So I pulled my content, and now I'm back and just dipping my feet back in. But I want to make more content because it's important to me, because people are actually listening, because maybe I'll reach somebody who is on the fence. Because I was that person, 20 years ago, crying my eyes out because I didn't have health insurance. It was before the Affordable Care Act came out. And I didn't have health insurance, and I was literally considering unaliving because I did not have health insurance. I want to help those people.
Yeah. And I'm really wanting to do more lives. I want to, of course, do more lives with Ella. And if anybody else wants to do a live with me, just, DM me and we can talk about that and figure that out too. Because I think
I would love to get us in the 6 box or the 9 box and get a bunch of fatties chatting and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Because we have amazing conversations. We always start out over here, and we just wind our way through all of these important or cool or fun topics.
Yeah, I mean, this is spiciness at its best over here, right?
Yes. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming to this live. It's been amazing to read all of these comments, and I think we also had a really amazing conversation. So
I'm really glad that people could come by. I know it's a weird time sometimes, because people are like, I'm working at that time. But, I'm hoping that we can do more, and get more people in here. But it's hard because it's like this is a time where like I would think that most East Coast people could possibly attend. But yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about that as, in terms of doing more of these like times and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. I would love to see you again, Catnip. Please follow me. I'll follow you back.
Yeah,
And,
same. Anybody who doesn't already follow me, if you follow me, I'll follow you back. Yeah, and let's have some talks. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you for going live with me.
Yeah, thank you for doing this, and thanks again for everybody being here and listening and joining in on the chat. I really appreciate you, and we'll do this again sometime soon, okay?
Yep. All right.
All right.
Bye,
Talk to you
everyone.
again. Bye, everyone.